Hi everyone. Regular watchers of my channel will know that I've been covering both the Russiagate story, this whole Donald Trump is Putin's puppet story, and the Skripal story. I've been covering them both from the very beginning. And as the more time has gone on, the more I've realised that both of these stories are intertwined. They are connected, and they are connected in a big, big way. This is something that you're not being told in the mainstream media. If you've the first time you've seen this channel, let me just give you a quick recap. 2017, BuzzFeed published the details of the so-called dirty dossier with evidence, supposed evidence, that of all salacious allegations, one of which that Trump paid 2 prostitutes to pee on a bed in Moscow that President Obama had once slept on. It's ridiculous. I know it's true. I know, but apparently they say that it was true. The first thing the government did, the UK government, when BuzzFeed published that PP-gate dossier, was put a D notice on the UK media, a DA notice. That's a notice to the media to say don't publish this information because it's against the interests of national insurance. Newspapers don't have to take that advice there. Now, the government gave them a D notice on the name of Christopher Steele, the former MI6 agent that was the publisher of this dirty dossier. The BBC, the Telegraph, and the Guardian all ignored that D notice and published his name anyway because his name was all over the internet. Everybody knew who the author of this dossier was by then. Then, February, March this year, the Skripals are poisoned. Why is this connected? Well, it's connected because the first thing that the government did was really show their hand, because the first thing they did was put a D notice on the name of Mr. Skripal's MI6 handler, which is Pablo Miller. I'll get to that in a second, and the company name Orbis Business Intelligence. Orbis Business Intelligence, it turns out, was Christopher Steele's company. Pablo Miller worked for Orbis Business Intelligence, and Pablo Miller and Christopher Steele knew Sergei Skripal. Indeed, they were quite close, and Sergei Skripal and Christopher Steele actually lived within half a mile of each other. And then you add into the fact that the BBC, trying to remember his name now, but one of the guys at the BBC was interviewing Sergei Skripal in the months previous to him being poisoned. He was already being interviewed by the BBC, and they kept that information from the public for, I think, almost 4 months, the BBC did. So straight away there's something dodgy there. That's why I think they're connected, and the more information that comes out, the more I start to think, you know what, yeah, I'm right, these are connected, and this is not just a magnificent coincidence. They are definitely connected. And at the end of my last Sergei Skripal video, I mentioned this video. Now, these are 2 intelligence chaps that have come out in America. The day before the UK government identified these 2 people who they say poisoned the Skripals, 2 people who are just Russians who flew in directly from Russia and went direct out towards Russia on Russian visas. If they're Russian assassins from Putin, then they're the worst assassins in the history of the world. They just are. It's comical. It's Keystone cop stuff. If that's the case, it's just nonsense what they're telling us to believe. These 2 intelligence guys, though, they've come forward and basically said there's actually 119 of us coming forward in the near future with documents and information to basically blow the lid off this and to prove that the Trump campaign was being spied on in 2016. And what he's talking about here is a message that he got on November the 1st, 2016, before the election, that Donald Trump and his team were being spied upon.
Robert jumps a plane to New York. Robert, what exactly did you get? What was that phone call you received? What were those words you heard that shocked you into reality of, wow, we have a real problem?
I was told that there were 3 bad actors that had infiltrated the Trump campaign.
So there were 3 bad actors, and he says there were 3 bad actors from the intelligence community in America. So the three bad actors who had infiltrated the Trump campaign.
And that they were working with people from the UK, bad actors from GCHQ and MI6.
Now, what I surmising here, he's talking about people either who he's either talking about Christopher Steele and Pablo Miller or associates of them,
and also people from Russia, non-Kremlin Russia, I may add, that were associated with an oligarch.
And this fits a lot of people's theories that this was some, spy game gone bad. And it certainly looks like that's the case. So they're saying that these three people, one of which was Stefan Halper, I'll get to him in a bit, and he also gives the initials CS of another informant inside the Trump campaign. I think there was somebody called Carla Santino or something like that. Who that could be? Amateur sleuths will put their comments in the down below. Let me just carry on listening to this guy there.
And immediately I got on a plane. I flew to New York that evening. I met with a senior Trump campaign representative and gave him the information.
So they gave that information to the Trump campaign. Trump knows now that he's being spied upon. That could explain why in the debates he was saying stuff like, no, I'll keep you in suspense as to whether I'll accept the election or not. And stuff like, because you'd be in jail, when Hillary Clinton said it's a good job Trump isn't president. Just want to add a little bit of this interview that they went on to say there.
So in terms of report for the president, we have 119 folks that you're working with that are coming out from various agencies, including the Department of Treasury, the NSA, NSC, DOJ.
So she's saying 119 people are coming to compile all this evidence for the website report for the president. That's the website I mentioned. It's up. I'll show you.
FBI, just to name a few. Mm-hmm. Joshua, tell me a little bit about what this report for the president is going to mean. How do people access it? What do they expect to find there, up to and including this broadcast and more like it?
Sure. Well, interviews like this, Ann, that you're helping us with and going through a deep dive into this information will be there on the website, as well as our reports, some of the information that we've turned in that has been made public. I know a lot of people were very interested in the memo and details, but I can tell you that these reports go into that even further and into more deep dive. So we're going to have that broken down, able to disseminate that information so that people can access it from both the public and for those who need it to understand in the USG and other places.
It should be out by this Friday.
So, yeah, what he's saying there is, they're going to put this website up. It should be out by this Friday. And it's out. And it's interesting to say the very, very least. That's not it. This is it. And you may remember from my last video on the Skripals, I was not so sure that this was 100% legit. I thought maybe there was still a chance it was going to be some big hoax. Not anymore. This is 100% legit. You had two guys there, Robert Carone and Joshua Mercius. That's these two guys who you just saw. And next to him, this is Kevin. That's Kevin Shipp. Anybody who knows anything about Kevin Shipp, who's an ex-CIA whistleblower, will know that his treatment from the intelligence community since he's been left has been appalling. I mean, Kevin will tell you he thinks him and his family were poisoned by the intelligence community when he blew the whistle on them. And then comes to Bill Binney. That's Bill Binney, who I have mentioned, who is Bill Binney from Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity, the people who debunked the Iraq WMD's nonsense and wrote a memo to the president back then, said it was nonsense. They were proven true. The same people who blew the lid on the 2012 report saying that Assad had gassed his own people, and they said, no, you're reading this wrong. It actually turned out that it was more likely to be a false flag, and the UN have confirmed that since. So Bill Binney is a genius. I've talked about him before. He's a genius. He's the one who's basically given the evidence to say that, what you're saying was a hack of the DNC, of these documents that given WikiLeaks. Well, nothing adds up. That was a local download, and I can prove it. He's proved it. I've covered that on my channel very much. Next to him, I know is Thomas Drake and then Diane Roark there on the right. I knew who they were because they're actually both in, these two, they're both in the documentary A Good American about Bill Binney. This gentleman down here is Kirk Weber, and all four of them are members of veteran intelligence professionals for sanity. This is legit, guys. Those 4 people alone should tell you there is some serious intelligent people behind this. I haven't identified who these 4 people are, but it wouldn't surprise me if they are VIPS members either. And it also wouldn't surprise me if is when, as more information and more documents start dropping by this website and by these analysts, that you will still see people's names come up here, such as John Kiriakou and Ray McGovern and all the people that we know have been great whistleblowers and truth tellers in the past. So this is legit. So what does it say? Well, the first document is sort of outlines their mission, and their mission is to basically say there was no grounds to hire special counsel in the first place. To straight off, they're saying this special counsel, this Mueller investigation is concocted. And what they're saying is it's concocted because the evidence that was given to the FISA court to get the spying on Donald Trump, the stuff that these bad actors did back then, that they're now using the stuff that they did to actually get the warrants to spy on him in the first place, which is a gross violation of the law. It actually says in big capital letters there, the investigation was a counterattack in response to the Democratic Party not winning the presidential election. I must have said that about 50 times on this channel. You know, this Russiagate nonsense is made up by the DNC to try and take away from the fact that they rigged their own primary against Bernie Sanders and lost an election to, you know, a reality TV star that anybody else would have won. That instead of taking responsibility and moving left, giving the people policies that they want, policies that they'll vote for, instead they just come up with some excuse to blame Russia. That's what I said it was all along. On that line there, the investigation was a counterattack in response for the Democratic Party not winning the presidential election would prove that to be the case. A little bit further down, it goes on here to talk about James Clapper, who retroactively modified Section 2.3 of Executive Order 12333 to expand access to surveillance of United States citizens. Now, why did he do that? Well, it was retroactive because the NSA had already been sharing surveillance files with the FBI before that date, and going in and modifying that executive order basically lets James Clapper off the hook for his involvement in any unwarranted surveillance and unwarranted procurement of information. And Loretta Lynch, I believe, did something similar. I'll leave links to everything here down below. There's plenty of links to videos and everything that you can get information from. And here, just want to go over this. The glaring flaw in the Russia collusion investigation is that the Obama administration and US Department holdovers and self-serving radical Washington elitists already knew there was no collusion because of our robust surveillance capabilities, and thus the motive by the desperate former Obama administration to manufacture evidence by manipulating the Carter Page matter and inventing the fake dossier in collaboration with bad actor GCHQ and MI6 operatives aligned with US bad actors. Either the Obama intelligence agencies were completely inept or they deliberately committed treason against a sitting president. It sure looks like the latter is the case there. This fake dossier, it has caused so many things. It certainly has a major input and a major stake in what happened with the Skripals, from the information that I've just collated that other people have dug up. It's certainly, and remember what's happened since then. Remember, if this is all untrue, if this is all fake news, look at all the hawkishness towards Russia, all the sanctions that have been put on Russia, the diplomats, over 200 diplomats been ejected around the world as a result of, you know, this Russia collusion narrative and this hacking of the election and this Skripal case. And that's without, you know, the other things that have happened in between. There were other things that have happened that you just think they must be connected, such as the chemical attack in Duma happening so soon after, and of course the silencing of Julian Assange, the one person who probably would be able to shed just a little bit of truth on this more than most of the people. There's other documents that have been dropped on this website. This goes back to 2000 from the Office of Legal Counsel. I gather that's a document just outlining how the start of the Echelon program happened and the collection of data in the United States against Fourth Amendment rights. This is a copy of the class action lawsuit filed against Barack Obama by Elliot J. Shochat for violating the Fourth Amendment rights by spying on citizens. That is, I believe, outstanding from 2014. And then here's the memo that Rod Rosenstein gave. I believe it was the president, actually. I think it must have been. But that's him saying, yeah, Comey should have been fired because he concluded the investigation into Secretary Clinton's emails, as you can see there in the second paragraph. And he basically said, he absolved Hillary Clinton of any wrongdoing when that's not his job. His job is to just present the evidence. It's the Attorney General's job, the job to, assign guilt or indeed innocence. This is really interesting, and it's going to get more and more interesting as more and more documents are dropped over the coming days and weeks, and I'm going to be deciphering and going through them all. There's not a lot that's been dropped yet. There's not a lot, there's not too many facts I can go through, but there are, I can surmise certain things when, evidence of things that I've covered come out. It's really interesting, and I bet you a pound to a penny that Rachel Maddow won't be talking about this tonight. She'll be talking about Russia collusion, no doubt, still. I'll try and give you the truth, that's all. But the truth is these things are connected by the look of it. It's too much of a coincidence for it not to be. The truth is we are now basically in a Cold War over what looks like nothing. With Russia, it looks like Russia have been blamed left, right and centre for things that they had nothing to do with. And if that's the case, then the Western governments of this world who have been hawkish with Russia and Putin have got some bloody explaining to do and some apologising to do when all the evidence comes out. How much comes out? I don't know. They'll probably cover a lot up. I'll stop on it and I'll just keep reporting on the good work of other people do and try and bring you the truth. That's all I can promise to do. But it's really bad that all of this has happened over the last 6-month period, in sanctions and diplomats being expelled and, missiles being launched. This all could be because the Democrats just didn't want to take responsibility for losing the election to a reality TV star rather than move left, or because probably, as I surmised, they would lose money from their donors if they did that. I'll keep you informed on it. Keep an eye on that website as well as to all the documents that drop and for any future names to be added to that wall of fame that we recognise, such as, I wouldn't be surprised if John Kiriakou is a face that appears on there very, very soon, and Ray McGovern and the like. Interesting times. I think we're either getting closer to this being wrapped up, or we're getting closer to it blowing up out of all proportion, that's for sure. Definitely going to keep an eye on it. If you like this video and you want to hear more, please click subscribe and click the bell down there as well so you get a notification of when I drop further videos. Otherwise, YouTube will hide it from you, any future videos. They have admitted that they do that. We are facing an absolute onslaught, a barrage from both the corporate media and corporations who are trying to silence our voices. They're trying to stop us from bringing you the truth and cutting through the partisan BS that you get in the mainstream media. They don't like it. We're their competition. So if you can support channels like mine, please do so. Please share the videos wherever you can. Talk to your friends and family and spread the word about what we're doing. If you can support us on Patreon, please do so as well. The link is down there. You can support me for as little as $1 a month, and every bit helps. We cannot do this without your support. Thanks very much for your support. Until next time, peace and take care.